Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into an invisible, internet-breaking architecture problem, distributed ID generation. It's a massive engineering challenge that's literally hiding in plain sight. You see, every single time you interact with an app, millions of IDs are being minted in the background. And the way those IDs are created? Well, it dictates the fundamental speed and reliability of almost every single application you use today.
Think about it for a second. Every time you post a photo on Instagram, send a message on Discord, or just save a file, the system has to do something deceptively simple before anything else can even happen. It has to assign that object a unique ID. That ID becomes the primary key. It's the absolute foundation, the exact address used by every single downstream system. If two objects ever collide on this ID, no joke, the entire data model breaks. Foreign keys point to the wrong rows, caches return the wrong data, and your application just completely falls apart. But getting this deceptively simple task wrong doesn't just cause errors. It actually destroys your database performance at scale.
And here's the kicker. Choosing a bad ID generation strategy can inflict a massive 30 to 50 times performance penalty on your database's write throughput. 30 to 50 times. A wrong choice early in a system's life is absolutely one of the most expensive pieces of technical debt you can possibly incur. Engineers literally lose sleep over this stuff, because you simply cannot retroactively change primary keys on a live database serving billions of rows without a massive, terrifyingly painful migration.
Section 1. Why UUIDs break databases. Okay, so to solve this uniqueness problem, the naive fix everyone tries first is the 128-bit random UUID. And it makes perfect sense at first glance. Any machine can generate one without talking to another machine, which means zero network collisions. But uniqueness is only one constraint. The damage UUIDs do really only becomes visible at scale, and it is entirely structural. Imagine a massive library where books absolutely must be inserted in alphabetical order on the shelves, but the actual books arrive completely randomly. Every time you get a new book, you have to pull old books out and violently shift entire shelves around just to make it fit. That is exactly the disk I/O write amplification storm that random UUIDs cause inside a database's B+ tree index. A B+ tree desperately wants sequential inserts so it can neatly place new data right at the end of the line in memory. Random inserts force the database to pull unsorted pages from disk, split them, and write them back. It slows everything down to an absolute crawl.
Generating a unique value is actually the easy part. Anyone can generate a random string, right? But generating an ID that plays nicely with your database's B+ tree index memory, now that is the true engineering challenge.
Section 2. MongoDB Object ID, the halfway solution.
Let's look at our first architectural evolution and see how MongoDB attempted to solve this random insertion problem while still keeping things decentralized. They created the Object ID. By placing a 4-byte timestamp on the far left side, the most significant bits of the ID, sequential inserts naturally cluster together within the exact same second. This gives us what we call time sortability. Suddenly, we regain that beautiful index locality because all the inserts happening right now share the exact same left side prefix. Because they're sequential, they land on the same warm pages in the database's memory, completely avoiding those slow, costly disk reads. But at 96 bits, it's still quite large, and within that 1-second resolution, the remaining bits are kind of randomized.
Section 3. The Centralized Ticket Hack. Because 96 bits is still just way too large for hyper-efficient indexing at a massive scale. We need to look at how to get this down to a much smaller 64-bit integer. And this brings us to Flickr's totally ingenious solution for minting tiny, strictly sequential IDs across highly sharded databases. They built what they called a centralized ticket server. It's wonderfully simple. It relies on a unique constraint to constantly overwrite one single row in a dedicated MySQL database. Every single time an application needs an ID, it pings the server instantly updates that single row, advances an auto-increment counter, and returns the brand new integer. It is incredibly fast, and the 64-bit output indexes perfectly. Now there is a critical operational distinction when building this ticket server, and it all comes down to the exact MySQL upsert command you choose to use. If you use the onDuplicateKeyUpdate command, the database simply and atomically updates the number right there in place. It's lightning fast and highly efficient.
But if you accidentally use the replace into command instead, it causes a massive, devastating 32 times slowdown. Why? Well, because replace into violently deletes the old row and inserts a brand new one from scratch. This triggers an invisible cascade of secondary index rewrites and bin log bloat. It's a really fantastic reminder of how just one wrong line of code in your infrastructure layer can magnify into a complete system-wide bottleneck.
Of course, having one centralized server minting all of your IDs creates a terrifying single point of failure. To prevent their entire platform from crashing if this single database went down, Flickr brilliantly deployed 2-ticket servers. But wait, how do you prevent them from generating the exact same numbers? They simply stepped their auto increments. Server A only produces odd numbers, 1, 3, 5. Server B only produces even numbers, 2, 4, 6. You put a round-robin load balancer in front of them, and boom, if one dies, the other takes over instantly, and collisions are mathematically impossible.
Section 4. Twitter Snowflake, eliminating the network.
The thing is, centralized database servers, even highly available ones like Flickr's ticket server, they still add milliseconds of network latency to every single insert. To solve this, let's compare our previous approaches against the ultimate decentralized solution that almost all modern platforms use today, Twitter Snowflake. Notice how UUIDs are uncoordinated but terrible for indexes, while the Flickr ticket server is index-friendly but requires strong network coordination. Snowflake finally achieves the holy trinity of scale: zero network coordination latency, built-in time sortability, and perfect index friendliness. How? Well, it pulls the ID generation entirely out of the database and puts it directly into your application code.
By breaking down a single, lightning-fast 64-bit payload, we can mathematically pack in an astonishing amount of data. A Snowflake ID dedicates 41 bits to a millisecond timestamp, 10 bits to identify the specific physical machine generating the ID, and 12 bits for a sequence counter. This means a single machine can emit over 4 million completely unique, time-sorted IDs every single second, all without ever talking to another server. It's a total game-changer.
Section 5.
Cursor pagination,
The killer app.
Packing the time on the left side of that Snowflake ID unlocks the absolute most important query pattern for modern user interfaces. Have you ever scrolled down a social media feed, clicked next page, and seen the exact same post you just read? That broken experience happens when developers use traditional limit and offset queries, which force the database to scan and discard thousands of rows. But with a time-sorted Snowflake ID, you ditch limit and offset entirely. Instead, you use the ID as a cursor. The database index instantly jumps right to the exact ID of the last item you saw and scans forward in constant time. Because newer posts mathematically have higher ID numbers, they simply never appear in your older pages, completely eliminating those annoying UI duplicates.
Section 6. Designing for failure.
Now, as with all things in system design, there are trade-offs. Pushing ID generation into your application code, completely decoupling it from the central authority, introduces some pretty terrifying physical realities in your server fleet. If you deploy this, you absolutely must build strict operational safeguards. For instance, what happens if the Network Time Protocol, or NTP, updates and accidentally steps a server's wall clock backwards? Your code might accidentally generate the exact same time-based ID it did a second ago. Or, what if two machines accidentally get assigned the exact same machine ID on startup? You'll generate silent duplicates across your entire cluster. You have to write specific code to detect clock regressions, pause generation of a machine exhausts its sequence, and tightly monitor your infrastructure's physical time drift. Time is an incredibly powerful feature here, but it is absolutely your biggest liability.
So, we've explored the hidden depths of uniqueness, index locality, and time sortability. But I want to leave you with this final thought. Generating the right ID from day one? It's deeply satisfying. But what if you were hired at a company that picks the wrong one 5 years ago? How do you actually migrate a billion rows of random UUIDs to Snowflake IDs while the application is live and taking heavy internet traffic? Because changing primary keys on a live database is a nightmare you want to avoid at all costs. Think about how you tackle that massive puzzle, and we'll see you in the next explainer.